you kidding? The time for blind tasting is over. Blind drinking.
So
You look blind. And then, almost as if I'm going to kiss somebody.
Like,
Yeah.
If you know where your mouth is, you will reach it.
Oh, all right.
nicely stated. We do blind tasting today. How blind tasting is different from usual tasting, Peter?
With the usual tasting, you pretty much know what's in your glass, and so you're expecting it. You've made a lot of presumptions already about what it's going to be. Blind tasting is different from the perspective that you actually don't know what you have in your glass, and in a way it forces you to concentrate a whole lot more, because you're first trying to identify the wine, at the same time as trying to identify the wine also to figure out what the quality is. So it's a little bit more complex than just regular tasting and requires greater concentration.
I think the reason you folks brought me in here is that besides being a master of wine, I'm also an eye surgeon, an ophthalmologist. So I thought that the blind tasting and eye disease is brought in play. And you can see Peter has his very dark glasses on for the blind tasting. So all yucks aside, when I learned how to do blind tasting, I learned to be a careful observer of color of the wine, aromatics, the structure of the wine, the flavors of the wine, and learned how to break a wine down into its component parts, and then based upon those component parts, try to figure out where is it from, warm climate, cool climate, what's the variety, is it a good example, is it a fair example, is it a poor example. That's how I view blind tasting. And on some levels it can be almost a parlor game, but really when done by professionals, it's the best way to evaluate quality in a wine.
Why do you do blind tasting?
There's a number of reasons. The practical reason for doing blind tasting is to compare a bunch of wines, one against the other, to try and figure out which is best. For example, if you're writing an article and you want to be impartial, or if you're sitting down and being asked to judge wine and to be impartial, you might be given a little bit of information about the wine, but you don't know exactly what's in your glass. So it forces you to concentrate, as Patrick said, to basically deconstruct the wine, to break down the sensations, be they visual, olfactory, or on the palate, to break down those sensations, the sensory perceptions, and try and analyze what you have in front of you.
Why I do it is because it's usually fun. And so then based upon your panel, the other people that you're tasting with, if you have the luck of like-minded people, it's a lot of fun. And if you are unlucky and you are tasting with some contrarians, if you say the sky's blue, they say no, it's not. then you're in for a more difficult day.
I tell you, it also keeps you honest.
Yeah.
Keeps you honest and it keeps you humble. Give you an example. Let's say somebody said to you, I've got 10 California Cabernets. And they're saying, you taste the 10 California Cabernets. If the wines are lined up, Patrick and I have been drinking wine for so long, we know most of the labels. So there's a Napa Valley Cabernet that costs $250. And here's $2 Chuck. If we know the labels, even as honest as we believe that we're being, as impartial, as absolutely agnostic as we believe we're being, you are absolutely influenced one way or another by the label. Serve the wines blind, it's completely honest.
And who was it? Was it Harry Waugh, the British wine merchant, who said that one look at the label was worth 10 or 20 years of blind tasting experience?
I'll second that.
What is interesting, because when you see the label, then there are going to be characteristics that may or may not be in the wine that you may find in the wine. And so doing it blind is a good way to evaluate, again, to evaluate quality. And is the wine that's costing $50 really worth it?
So I think that's another very important part of it. We accept now, you and me and lots of other people that do what we do, we accept that we understand quality assessments. It's not like we're trying to figure out, by tasting wines blind, whether we can tell a good wine from a less good wine, a great wine from a good wine. So it does give us an absolutely excellent base for saying the reason that wine is getting $250 or $300 a bottle may be because of great marketing, great hype, previous scores, low volume production, rather than its absolute quality.
I think it's also difficult for beginners and even for intermediates to tell the difference of good flavors from bad flavors.
And I think part of that, when you're a newcomer to wine, there are tricks that winemakers do. We use the term putting lipstick on a pig. And so if you have a wine that's underripe and the flavors aren't all that good, one way of trying to cover that up is to leave some sweetness in the wine. Sweetness works against the perception of bitterness. And then also putting some cheap oak on that wine, oak chips or oak staves, so you get this oak flavor that covers up some of the faults in the wine. With time, you tend to realize, oh my God, they've taken something that was bad and they're trying to cover it up, and I can't drink more than a drop of it.
Is it possible to know which wine it is without knowing its identity previously?
In the broader sense, it is. If you've had Côte de Rhône in the past, in the broader sense then, without knowing that specific wine, that specific producer, you could know that you're in the Côte de Rhône. Mm-hmm. You don't know which producer it might be in the Côte de Rhône, or if it's a co-op, or if it's a major producer, a very important producer, but you can pretty much know. Mm-hmm. However, if it's a specific winery, mm-hmm. and you have not had that wine before, then you can't know.
And how precise can you guess?
So, I can give you a personal example. For example, yesterday, mm-hmm. I got brought a wine blind. Mm-hmm. It was something that I had from this vineyard before. Mm-hmm. I got the price, the grape variety, mm-hmm. the producer, mm-hmm. the year, and pretty much the vineyard inside of the property. Mm-hmm. Okay. But 3 days ago, I got a wine wrong mm-hmm. by 5,000 miles, missed the grape variety.
So there are good days and bad days.
Good days and bad days, and also
people... Good days and great days.
Great days and great days. When you're tasting nice wines, it's always a great day.
So shall we do the actual blind tasting?
Are you kidding? I'm sitting here talking and talking. My mouth is dry, tongue's hanging out.
Because you are
Can we do some blind drinking rather than blind tasting? The time for blind tasting is over. Blind drinking now.
Okay. So you look blind.
So I was on a trip. I don't know if you were there. A trip to Alto Adige.
I didn't go.
In northern Italy, and we had a fascinating tasting where there were several blind sommeliers. And so
actually, really blind.
Yes, really blind.
Okay.
And we had a tasting where we were in this room. We were led into the room by the sommeliers, and the room is pitch black. You're in a very strange environment because none of us are accustomed to tasting when you can't see anything, right? So just being in complete blackness is disorienting.
I love the idea. You know why? You can't find the spit bucket, so you're forced to drink it.
It's true. No, actually, we did have small spit buckets at your...
But could you spit it inside the bucket?
Well, it's a cup.
Oh, okay.
So you bring the cup up to your mouth.
If you know where your mouth is, you got a choice. Even experienced tasters, very often, if it's black, mm-hmm. the room is black, or they have the wine in an opaque glass, can't tell red from white.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly if
Not
they're...
great tasters, but experienced tasters.
Can I do a quick bit on spitting?
Yes, please.
So we take a look...
Spit the rest.
Yeah, of course. So we take a look at the color, swirl it, so we can smell it better. Take a sniff, and now we're going to take a taste. What I do is I suck in some air as I taste the wine, and then almost as if I'm going to kiss somebody. I pucker up, and then I just blow it out. So the best spitters in the world, you know, are the Australians. The Australian winemakers take great pride in their ability to, you know, hit a bucket from about 20 feet away.
I have been at a competition in Australia.
Here it is.
I didn't see it. Sorry, one more time, please.
We can do it in slow mo as well. That's it. That's spitting. Spitting 101. I'll even do a side view here. I hope your landlord doesn't get pissed off by spitting.
I'm gonna ask him.
Wow.
All right.
Nicely spitted.
All right.
All right.
Wine number one.
Wine number one. Wine number one.
So when it comes to tasting, we use all the senses.